You hear that? That's the sound of millions of people panicking to get gifts. But not you, because you're getting all your gifts this year on Drizzly, the go-to app for drink delivery. Drizzly lets you send beer, wine, and spirits to almost anywhere in as little as 60 minutes, or scheduled up to 2 weeks in advance, making it the ultimate gifting hack for the holidays. Download the Drizzly app or go to drizzly.com. That's DRIZLY.com. Must be 21 plus, not available in all locations.
There's only one road into Key West, but you won't believe where it can take you. Travel back in time to a city rich with history. Discover amazing artists and musicians. Taste seafood fresh off the boat. Or just kick back and soak up the island vibe. For more about Key West, visit flakeys.com. Key West, close to perfect, far from normal.
Hello and welcome to the Paddock and the Pavilion with me, your host, Stephen Wallace. Today's show features the second of our World Cup roundups, this time with a player who was at the heart of the action for the Netherlands, Paul van Meekeren. Anyone who joined the Men's World Cup in India must have loved watching the team in orange. Their passion, commitment and skill. The underdogs who punched above their weight to qualify for the global event, and then when beating two test-playing nations. Enjoy an hour-long cricket feast with Paul, inspiring the next generation in the Netherlands. On today's show, I'm delighted to be joined by a member of the Orange Army, Netherlands bowler Paul van Meekeren. How are you, Paul?
I'm very good, thank you.
Well, thanks for being part of the Paddock and the Pavilion. You spoke to me back in January in episode 176 when you just finished the T20 World Cup, and now we've just finished the 50-over World Cup. You must be tired after nearly 7 weeks, or probably has been 7 weeks for you, travelling around and playing cricket in India.
Yeah, it was actually 8 weeks because we had quite a long prep before the World Cup started. So we had a bit of extra time in India, but I thought it was going to be a lot tougher physically than it was in the end. So I'm okay. I'm okay. Let's put it that way. It was the last week was quite tough. More the mental drainage, I guess, than the physical side of things. But yeah, I've been back now just over a week, and I'm kind of ready to go again.
Ready to go again. It must have been intense though, playing in India.
Yeah, I think it's the level that makes it really intense. Obviously, playing for the Dutch team, you don't get to play against these big teams day in and day out. So playing against sort of those top 10 or top 8 ranked teams in the world, mentally it takes a lot more. And that's no disrespect to playing against other associate teams, but those bigger teams just punish the bat ball even more than they do sort of at the level below. So sort of you have to be on it every single ball, and you can't just run in and let go. It's the planning of per batsman and stuff, where I think the level below, it's in my experience, we haven't had the detailed planning, the hour to an hour and a half team meetings before the games, because we're playing against players that we haven't really played against. So all those kind of things made it, from a mental side of things, a lot more draining. Inside and outside the game, I guess. So that was sort of the biggest challenge, I guess, of all of it.
What about the travelling? And what does a World Cup cricketer do in between games, apart from the odd massage?
Part of the many old massages. We had a few days where we played a bit of golf. I mean, as far as days off go, it was sort of you play a game. The next day will be pretty much a travel day, which is fantastic. Like, the organization of that is brilliant. We leave our bags outside our room the evening before, and then we don't see the bags till we get to the next hotel, and it's in front of your door pretty much a few hours after arriving. And then you get in a bus. India could be quite famous for its traffic, but we've got police escorts, so yeah, like a hot knife through butter. We slide through the cities of India, which is quite nice. You get to the airport and it's all sort of almost cordoned off. So we walk straight to the sort of your hand luggage check. Through that, straight to the gate. Plane is waiting in it, and we got sort of chartered flights. So, I mean, our travel party was about 30, and then at times maybe 40, including partners or family or board members. And you know, you've got one of those European planes, I guess, European flight planes. So the medium flight plane. So what is that, 120 seater or whatever it is, for the 40 of you. So you got your own row. So it's pretty relaxed. There were one or two moments where it was quite a long day, but it isn't stressful. Everything is organized for you. You just pretty much follow the leader and you get to the next place. So that was sort of one of my worries, I guess, traveling and going from city to city, that, you know, a lot of times at the airport, waiting around, carrying your bags and all that kind of stuff. But that was all organized. So that was actually quite effortless and really nice.
Yeah, you always wonder about fast bowlers, tall fast bowlers. You're picking up back niggles and things like that with all this traveling, but that was okay.
Yeah, like sitting for me is not ideal. I mean, I've been playing for the last 10 years at sort of at the international level. I've been in the county cricket scene. Sitting for me sitting for long periods of time is probably the worst for my back. So I tend to just lay down in between the seats, in the pathway in the bus, and when I'm feeling a bit stiff, and then in the plane I've got my own rows. So you walk a bit up and down the aisle and lay on the 3 seats that you have available for yourself.
Playing wise, before we talk about the World Cup, I just wanted to briefly mention how the Netherlands qualified for the World Cup, because you weren't part of that, and they did exceptionally well to qualify. You know, beating Scotland, Ireland, the West Indies in their group to actually get to that stage of playing in the top 10.
Yeah, I think even if we were at full strength, a lot of I guess international cricket media wouldn't have given us a chance of qualifying. And then obviously because of the timing of the tournament being in the middle of the UK summer and even in the middle of the T20 blast block, you know, there weren't many guys who played at cricket, and we've got 7 or 8 guys here in county cricket who just couldn't make themselves available for the Dutch team at the time. So going pretty much in with Bas de Leede, who plays for Durham, and Logan van Beek, who plays for Wellington in New Zealand. Other than that, the whole squad are guys who are, you know, play their cricket in the top klasse, which is the highest sort of amateur league in the Netherlands, which is like your Weppel cricket league here in the southwest, or, you know, your Premier Leagues around the UK. So to go with a team like that, who who definitely don't play day in day out at a high level like the guys who play county cricket, but then what they achieved, and especially chasing 374 against the West Indies, is something which I'm incredibly proud of when you look at our betting unit, because I think, you know, and the fact is that it's probably not our strongest suit, the betting, because, you know, our bettors don't face the quality bowlers day in, day out, what you do at the highest level. So for them to chase down a huge total like 374, I think at one stage, quite early on, the required run rate was up at 10 and over, just to show the guys were so composed and so calm. And the way they chased that total down was, you know, it almost looked like an Indian or an England batting lineup, the way they did it, which was fantastic to see.
This was an England batting lineup before the World Cup, not during the World Cup. Yeah.
The England we know, I would say, not the England that we saw at the World Cup.
And then you're in that particular game you're talking about against the West Indies. We had this, I think, sort of cricketing statistic that no one really talks about that much, but should do more, with this super over where Logan van Beek scores, was it 30 in the super over?
Yeah. It's quite funny because Logan was on strike of sort of the last ball of the regular game, and I think we needed 1 or 2 runs to win. So I think Logan kind of had it in his mind, if I get out now, I get to face the super over. And so maybe, I don't I don't think Logan did it, but like, it would have been quite special. It was a special moment, I guess. Logan not finishing the game off in regular time, and then sort of being the Superman that he is. And there's so many people I can talk about in the team, but Logan is just one of those fighters that just doesn't give up, puts 110%. I mean, we had with sickness going through the camp, and I'm not saying he was at his worst, but he was still pretty sick, and he came out against England and ran in and ball, and that kind of sums it up. So when the chips are down, I guess Logan just keeps fighting.
So qualifying for the World Cup, top 10 teams in the world, what were the Netherlands' hopes going into the tournament?
I don't need to be careful with what I'm saying. So obviously, from the coach and captain point of view, there was like talk straight away. We're going for a semi-final spot, which I read it. I was like, oh, I said in a few interviews that I did, if we can win one or two games and spoil a few parties, then that's something amazing. And again, I think there were a few podcasts going around when we were in India, or a few news articles, and no one, what I read and heard, gave us a chance of winning a game. It was almost like the Dutch are going. There's 2 points up for grabs for any other team. So if you had a rough couple of games and you come against the Netherlands, that will be a good confidence booster. 2 points coming up, and it might restart or kickstart your World Cup campaign. And I think the belief within the group was definitely that we're not going to be a pushover and a walkover. Did I think at the start of the World Cup that we could win 4 or 5 games to make a semi-final? No. Did I believe that we could make a semi-final after our first games against Pakistan? 100%. I think that the first 12 or 15 over against Pakistan and a little bit later on, and I know we're not talking about it just yet, showed that we can compete at the highest level. It showed that we can put teams in trouble, that we could cause a lot of panic in the changing room. And I think, looking back at it, when the coach said, we can make a semi-final here, I 100% believe now we actually could. And
preparations, you had one warm-up game before the tournament started against Australia?
Yeah, well, we played we had a prep camp in just outside Bangalore, and we played, I think, 2 games against the state team there. We lost both. I think in one game we were probably about 10 for 7. I've never seen anything like it. I think I walked in at 11 with a score of like 17 or 20 on the board. Can't remember the details, but it was remarkable. And that was our first warm-up game. We bought them out for like 200-ish. We were quite confident, and the ball was just swinging and seaming around a bit, and we just lost wicket after wicket after wicket. And then a few days later, we played them again, and we got a good score on the board, flat wicket, and they chased it down very comfortably. And then we sort of got into the official warm-up bit, and we got to Trivandrum, and it was just raining. I've never seen an outfield drain that well. So we got, I think it was like a 23 over game in against Australia, which, we weren't that unhappy with. We were quite happy the way things went. And then the game against India, the warm-up game against India, got rained off. So we came in with a lot of training. We had double sessions while we were just outside Bangalore. So we had a lot of volume in. We had a few games in. Obviously, it wasn't too long after the Dutch season. So guys were reasonable in sort of a match fitness. So I think going into that Pakistan game, guys were in a pretty good shape.
Well, we're not going to go into detail about every match, but the first 2 matches you lost against Pakistan, which you just mentioned. Then you came across New Zealand, who scored 322, and you replied with 223. But then you got your playing against they're your bogey side, South Africa, and I hadn't noticed until I did the research, but once again they decided to put the Netherlands into bat. So was that a surprise?
No, because there was quite a bit of rain around. Because we were up north in Darmstadt. The game started an hour. Well, we were supposed to start an hour later, and then almost at the time that we were supposed to start, it started raining again. So the covers came back on. So then the game got reduced, and I think it got reduced to a 43.
43, I think. Yeah.
43. So I think, any captain in white ball cricket, when there's a bit of rain around, balls first. Duckworth Lewis might come in play. That first hour, if there's no more rain around and there's a bit of moisture in the ground, the ball might swing and do a bit more. So all of that makes quite sense, I guess. So it was maybe not in the South Africa DNA, maybe of that tournament to bowl first. But if you sum up the conditions, it was probably the right call, and I think we would have done the same thing if we won the toss.
But even having lost those first two games, did you think, having beaten South Africa, albeit in the T20, that you had some sort of chance against them? I think,
my personal opinion is that South Africa had 6 very, very high class batters, a top order of 6 guys. But then their number 7, 8 are not, in a way, and there's no disrespect to their number 7 and 8, are not your number 7, 8 that you see in the other big teams around the world. So, we knew we had to take 5 wickets to open up an end. And I guess, once, and that was quite tough. I guess it showed quite tough in the first few games South Africa played, that it was quite hard to get to number 7. But having said that, I just felt like, you just need 5 good balls in a way, or 3 or 4 good balls and a soft dismissal. And you sort of get into that number 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and you open up an end. So we got a score on. And I think the par score at Darmstadt in the first innings was only like 223 or 231 in a 50 over game, and we got 240 old. So I think that gave us a lot of confidence going, okay, we can defend this. Like, there must be something in the wicket that makes it quite tough to score at this place. And I guess we were just absolutely relentless in our execution. I think the way we planned per batter, we executed exactly our plans to every single batter that we bowled to. I think Klaas hit one around the corner straight to fine leg. And Rassie van der Dussen tried his reverse sweep and picked the one guy out. But I think we just built a lot of pressure before those moments happened for them to make a mistake. And it kind of shows, no matter how good you are as a player or, what level it is, if you build pressure, something has to give. And we were not giving an inch at that time. So obviously, I guess the South Africa side broke a little bit quicker at that moment of time in the game. It was one of those career highlights, I guess, that you take with you moving forward.
Yeah, South Africa 36 for no wicket, then slumped to 44 for 4. And earlier, really, in the Netherlands innings, you were 140 for 7, and through Scott Edwards and some hitting at the end, you say you got 2, 4, 5 for 8. You did well to get that target. Yeah,
no, I mean, it's a little bit what Scott does. I mean, he deserves it. I think it's about time for him to get a ODI 100. He deserves that. He's averaging 45 without a single 100 in there. He's scored 15 or 16 50s. But he's just one of those grafters that just gets his head down, rotates the strike really well, picks up the old boundary. And then Roelof van der Merwe had a little cameo towards the end. And Arjan Dutt, who sort of came to his own his whole World Cup, especially with his bowling, shows the talent he has with the bat as well. And he just hit some mighty sixes towards the back end. And that little momentum that we created by not getting skittled over, just finishing up with the few bombs that he hit, was that momentum we took. We could feel as well that, they were probably very unhappy that we got to 240. They felt probably we got 70 or 80 too many. And that, no matter who you are, that kind of plays a role, I guess, mentally, where you go like, okay, why are we chasing 70 or 80 runs more than we should? I'm not sure that had a role to play, but I've been on the opposite side where, I felt like, okay, I gave my betters 70 or 80 too many, and it puts your betters in a tougher situation.
But the victory is certainly a vindication in what your coach had said before you left, if you can beat South Africa. Yeah,
and I think the frustrating thing is we should have beaten Pakistan as well, because we had them 30 out for 2, and Rizwan came in and they had I'm not sure if it was a debutant, but the lefty and they betted with really well intent, especially Rizwan came in and started sweeping straight away, and we like, if he keeps doing this, we're going to get a chance. And we just couldn't keep that run rate low enough. They were scoring quite easily at 6 and over. And then we got busted later, took 2 or 3 wickets pretty much in the space of 3 overs from his end, with Rizwan sort of starting off with it. And then they scored maybe a few runs, and then they had another good partnership. And I think if we were able to do what we did against South Africa, we would have beaten Pakistan. But we couldn't hold that run rate in check. We couldn't give them the 4 and over. There were just too many big overs in between. But that was sort of a great learning moment, I guess, for the bowling unit to move forward in the World Cup with.
And in match 4, you played Sri Lanka, lost by 5 wickets, but you pushed them very hard. They didn't get over the line until 8 balls to spare.
Yeah, I think they were never in trouble, unfortunately, in their chase. But I think we lost that games in the first 20 overs batting and in the first 20 overs bowling. We were 50 for 1 with 1 ball left in the power play, and unfortunately, Max got out. And then I think we lost another 2 or 3 quick wickets. So again, we were in a little bit of trouble in those first 20 overs. And then Logan van Beek and Sijbrand Engelbrecht had a fantastic 130-run partnership or something, which gave us 260, which was sort of on a wicket that had a bit of bounce or uneven bounce and a bit of seam in it. Probably was defendable. But then I think especially the seamers just didn't bowl well enough in those first 20 overs. Where I think after 17 overs, they were 1 down or 2 down maybe for, what was it, maybe 90 or 100, even maybe more. And then I took a wicket first ball after the power play, and we had after the drinks break, and then we had probably 5 or 6 overs where they didn't score too many runs. But by that time, the run rate that they had in that first 20 over block sort of gave them a base to sort of absorb that pressure and just sort of rotate the game home, just keeping over the scoreboard. So that was frustrating in a way as well, because I felt we really could have won that game with obviously their number 1 spinner out and their number 1 seamer out. So their bowling attack was there to take down, but we didn't have those wickets in hand to really sort of, I guess, to sort of grab that opportunity to sort of take them down towards the last 15 overs.
Looking for a fun way to win 25 times your money this football and basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projection for a wide variety of stats, and place your entry. It's as easy as that. If you have the skills, you can turn $10 into $250 with just a few taps. Easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and injury insurance on your picks are what make Prize Picks the #1 daily fantasy sports app. Ready to test your skills? Join the Prize Picks community of more than 7 million players who have already signed up. Right now, PrizePicks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/play100 and use code PLAY100. That's code PLAY100 at prizepicks.com/play100 for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, daily fantasy sports made easy.
Next game, game 5, that was a tough one against Australia.
Yeah, again, I think we had some opportunities. We missed David Warner spooned a couple over the fielders, which can happen. And I think when he was on around 30 or 40 odd, he was pretty much run out. Max out moved really well. Steve Smith and Warner were both at the same end, but then Max just fumbled the ball, unfortunately. So, I mean, if you get David Warner run out on 35, and he turned out scoring 100. And then I think the same thing with Maxwell or my bowling hit. He tried to go over long off. I think, that there was an opportunity there to potentially catch him as well. So again, that was when he was on 30 odd as well. So that shows where international cricket is, and that's what we spoke about a lot. All the small opportunities you get to take a wicket, you have to take them. And if you don't take them at that level, you get punished. I mean, Afghanistan had the same. They dropped Maxwell early on, and he scores a 200, wins the game for them. So, you just have to take those small opportunities if you get them. We didn't against Australia, and they make us pay. And then we scored for 100, and we got skiddled out for 90. But and it was in a way quite embarrassing that it was 90 runs. If we scored 250, 300, you look back, okay, it wasn't our day. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how many we could have been bowled out for 50. I mean, it was quite a tough game to win from not taking our opportunities, I guess.
What was it like bowling to Maxwell in that blitz of 140 balls?
Yeah, it was a good challenge. I think I panicked a little bit and bowled the back of that slower ball that he whacked for 6. But other than that, I was actually quite happy with my bowling team. He hit me for plenty 4s and maybe one more 6. But I felt like I was reasonably in control what I was doing. I was like 1 or 2 balls I executed really well, and he still hits it for 4 or 6. That's what they do at that level. You just I guess when I wasn't bowling, it's almost standing there and admiring it than anything else. And some batters can go on an absolute roll, and there's not much you can do against it on that day.
Well, your bowling figures that day, 10 overs for 64. So that's pretty good for a team that gets 399.
Yeah. It wasn't a bad day. So I felt I bowled reasonably well. There were a couple balls that went in the air and just went left or over the fielder or right of the fielder. So I personally was quite happy the way I bowled that game. But it's a team sport in the end, and we didn't take our opportunities, and we didn't execute when we were under a lot of pressure, and it's tough for everyone to perform under that kind of pressure. But that's why you play the game, and the best seem to perform a little bit better when you put under such big pressure.
But you responded well, showing the spirit of the side, coming back next game to beat Bangladesh, where you were also in trouble. You were 63 for 4 and you reached 229, but that's still quite a small target to defend.
Yeah, I think at that time, the betting stats wise, Bangladesh was actually the worst team in the competition, and we were 9th. So we knew that if we can get to some kind of total that they were under a lot of pressure with the bets, that their confidence was quite down, probably with the bet as well. And the feedback from the bettors who betted felt like it was a really tricky wicket. I think we were talking about 240 as a very defendable target. So I think quite early on, especially after we were in trouble, we knew we didn't need 260, 270, 280. So I think we played according to that a little bit. Again, Scott Edwards, stepping up with the bets. Logan with a couple blows towards the end to get us to 229. And I think we just knew if we start all right that we can win that game. And I mean, the bowlers were fantastic. Logan had a fantastic opening spell together with Aryan Dutt, picking up 2 or 3 wickets before I sort of got the ball given to me. So, I think every bowler who bowled that day sort of did their job. And the fielding, our fielding throughout the whole tournament was, we were probably one of the best fielding teams. I think the stats they had in the tournament, we were third, but like we were just, to outfield some of these teams that get paid millions of dollars to play cricket and do it on like day in, day out basis. I think that's something we can be really proud of as well. So the fielding, the bowling, and we just, I guess, blew Bangladesh away with the ball.
Yeah, I think as a spectator watching on the television, the one thing that came through all the time was the commitment and enthusiasm and ability of the Netherlands in the field.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to training, like it doesn't come for some guys it comes natural, but like every training session we did, even if it was an optional training session, the guys who went to training, there was always 20 minutes of fielding. So it's a bit of ground fielding, and then just catches, throwing balls. In the warm up we have a run out drill, so it's all about like trying to hit the stumps. I think you don't know it. Like 20 minutes doesn't sound a lot, because if you do 3 stations, you might be busy for 5 minutes at each station plus the rotation. But it adds up if you do it day in, day out. So I mean, we've been away for. I think we were away for 58 days. Let's say we had 40 training and match days. That's 40 fielding sessions at, let's say, 10 to 20 minutes. That's a lot of hours of fielding.
Well, we saw in the final the importance of fielding at the very start of the final with Australia against India.
Yeah, I mean, I think throughout the whole final, that first innings, like, they just were saving boundaries, and instead of 4s, it were 2s. So you halved the runs that you thought you were going to get for that ball. So, and then I think that pressure gave, Rohit Sharma played maybe a little bit of a false shot to Maxwell, but then Travis had to take the catch the way he did under that pressure. Again, that's what wins you games.
So you went to the next game against Afghanistan. You must have had hopes of another victory, although they had been playing really well, having beaten England and Pakistan.
Yeah, I felt we were like stealing the spotlight of each other. First Afghanistan against England, then us against South Africa, and then they won another game, and then we won another game. So we were like tossing the headlights or the spotlights between us. But they had a fantastic tournament. We knew we were going to get challenged against spin. Obviously, England played in Lucknow just before us on the turning track. And they've got 3-4 unbelievable spinners. Noor Ahmed, who didn't play all their games, is a very talented spinner. So he came in. So we had to face with Nabi. We had to face Noor, Rashid Khan, and Mujib. So we know we were going to get challenged. I think at times we played them really well, but again, we just, and that game, we had 4 runouts. There are not many teams who ever win a game if you get run out 4 times, no matter if it's in the first innings or last innings. And I have to say, Maxwell out was very unfortunate. I think the 2 was on a guy to pick up the ball, throw it off balance from the outfield, and have a direct hit. If he does it 100 times, he probably won't hit again. So that was unfortunate. But the other runouts was just self-inflicted, and that sort of, we knew after that happened, we were never really in the game, unfortunately. So I think it was one of those games that I personally thought we could target and win, but we just, we had quite a good power play, and then we sort of imploded on ourselves, and yeah, I think after that first inning, the game was pretty much over and done with.
Yeah, my next prompt card here says Dutch runouts 4 in one game against Afghanistan. So you read my mind there. Now, that was nearly the top 4 or 5 batsmen that were a part of those 4 runouts, weren't they? So
yeah, I have to say we had about 6 guys on the field who were pretty sick. I think in that period of the World Cup, it was a buck little bit going through the camp. Our batting coach was in bed for 3 or 4 days straight. I think about 70 or 80% of the whole team got something in that period. So it's not an excuse, but we fight it. I think we still fight it in that game the best we could, but we didn't. I guess we didn't have the best prep, and runouts are definitely not an excuse because you're sick. So, but it showed a bit of character that game, that we just tried our best, and it just wasn't good enough on that day.
Well, you ended with games against England and India. The England game, Ben Stokes and Chris Woakes made a big difference in their innings.
Yeah. I might sound a bit repetitive, but opportunities. I think Stokes was on 41 when he hit one to fine leg or third man, and we dropped him. And he goes on to make 100. And at that time, I think he was already batting with Woakes. So if you get him out, then you got Woakes and David Willey and you got Rashid left and Gus Atkinson. So yeah, if you take that opportunity, there's a lot of pressure on those 4 guys to get to a competitive score, I guess. There was an LBW decision where we believed he didn't hit it, even though it was a small shockwave, but we thought that was from something else. But yeah, that's technology, and we can't always get it right. But we felt we were definitely on the wrong end of that. And then at the end of the day, we dropped a catch, a pretty straightforward catch, not an easy one, but also not a very hard one. And if you take that catch when he's on 41, I mean, it's a different game. And definitely when you know the power that Stokes has, I think that's that moment definitely lost us the game. If we took that catch, we could have restricted England, and I think we were in a very good position to win the game. But you never know. You can't tell. We could have been skittered out for 90 if we kept them to 260 or 250, but we could have won that game. Who knows? But again, we talk about fine margins, and I'm talking about taking your opportunities when they come. And he gave us the opportunity, and we didn't take it, and that's the fact at the end of the day.
England would also have been under pressure because they needed to qualify for the Champions Trophy, and that was a game they had to win against the Netherlands.
Well, if we won that game, we would have qualified, and they wouldn't have been able to qualify for it, I think. And we lost, and we knew it's going to be pretty tough then to qualify for the Champions Trophy. But I think before the World Cup started, it was never on our mind, Champions Trophy. And I don't think in that game it was on our mind either. We just wanted to beat England. And, if you beat England, whatever comes as a result of that was just a very handy bonus. And it just wasn't our day. We didn't take, if you get one opportunity, you have to take it. And we just didn't.
Last game against India, that must have been a real experience playing against India.
Yeah, it was. I think it was sort of a game for us to enjoy. I think we didn't bowl the way we wanted to, but then again, you miss by a couple centimeters, and they punish you. And the form India was in, they were going to punish every half bad ball that you bowled, and that's. I felt it, and I think some of the other bowlers, except Van der Merwe, felt it. And I walked off the field after that first innings quite frustrated because I felt I could have bowled better and I could have done better. But then again, it just shows the level that they operate at. And to get 250, I guess, someone told us after the game that we scored more than three teams combined against India in our innings by ourselves. So the form and sort of the mood India was in the World Cup bar the final, I think we had a very good evening with the bat up to a certain extent. And you can go for 400. I mean, other teams have done it in the World Cup against us, against each other. It happens on a regular basis now in international cricket, where the big teams hit each other for 400. So it's definitely not something to be ashamed for or say we are a bad team. We just didn't execute the way we could, and that's it.
On the subject of the crowds, you had some of the Orange Army there. What was the feeling having people from the Netherlands supporting you? How many were there?
It was a long tournament, so I don't know how many came, but there were a lot of people who traveled to India, came to the team who I never thought they would come over and support the Dutch team. So in a way, it was very refreshing to see a lot of familiar faces, but kind of new faces to watch a Dutch game. I can only thank them and appreciate their support and making the effort coming out all the way to India to support us. It doesn't happen a lot in Dutch cricket. So, kind of thank you for that, I guess. It's always good to see Orange and people supporting you. And even if it's 1% of the crowd, it means a lot to us. And hopefully this World Cup has kind of kickstart a sort of a new relationship with the Dutch fans and the Dutch cricket community that maybe at times wasn't at its strongest. And for them to come down even when we play teams like Scotland and Ireland, and that's no disrespect to them because they are very good teams and they should be at World Cups. But, when we play any international cricket, it would be great to see a bit more orange around the fields, to see more young cricketers coming down and watch. I think listening from the people back home and what I see, the media attention that we received was more than anything else. The last two games were broadcasted on sort of our version of BBC, which is called the NOS, and it was on sort of the live stream platform, not on TV just yet. But I think it was the most watched live sport event on their stream this year, which was eye-opening. I think something I never thought that would happen, and I definitely know NOS probably never expected it. So it set us up that they might be interested in broadcasting a bit more cricket, which would be fantastic. Clubs were organizing breakfasts, mornings, and watch-alongs for that, because obviously the games were, even if we started at 2:00 with the time difference, it was sort of breakfast time. So they had like watch-alongs at cricket clubs, not just one, but 5, 6, 7, 8 clubs. I saw them promote coming down and watch the Dutch team play at the World Cup against India, against England. So yeah, that's super exciting. And I'm sure the cricket community that we have, even though it's small, and especially the younger kids, I'm confident that we had the opportunity to inspire them. And it's something that we definitely want to keep doing moving forward.
Well, you should be proud of that. I mean, you're in a competition where you were in the top 10 teams of the world. So hopefully that will be a big boost to Dutch cricket.
Hopefully. Yeah. I think just, I'm not sure if we're going to get more kids playing the game of it, but I really hope we inspired the playing community in sticking with cricket, and especially the young kids to dream of playing for the Dutch team. And that's a dream I had when at the time growing up where I couldn't watch the Dutch team play because we didn't have cricket on TV. The Dutch team wasn't playing at the level that we're playing now, as consistent as we're doing now. They had the old World Cup that they made, but again, it was quite tough to watch. And they left a legacy for us to be better, and the team is growing, and hopefully the future players that we've inspired can outperform us.
Well, before I talk briefly about your batting and bowling in the World Cup, I just wanted to get your overall thoughts on the competition for the Netherlands and as a whole.
Yeah, I've spoken to a lot of people how it was. I think I'm getting to the stage where I'm really proud of what we've achieved. I think last week, and especially out in India, there was a sense of disappointment still that, we didn't reach the level that we were capable of reaching off. That was with the bat and with the ball, I guess, at times. And I think we had opportunities in games where we should have won, and then we would have walked away with 4 or 5 wins. Who knows, a semi-final spot. But I think that was sort of, it was two feelings. Yes, we won 2 games, fantastic. But I think, still, as also because I'm still playing, and I'm hopefully I'm playing for the next 4 or 5 years still for the Dutch team. You're almost already thinking about what can we do better, where can we improve, what are the learnings that we can take from what we've seen that other teams did against us. So there was like, okay, we should have done better this, I should have done this better, and we should have maybe won these games. And it's been a week and a half, almost 2 weeks since our last game, and I'm almost more thinking about all the things we did really well, and sort of how proud I am of things. No, I think that sense of pride is definitely a lot more around now, and sort of look at what we've achieved, about how we put probably Dutch cricket in a spotlight, and hopefully make it also more attractive for sort of the marketing side of things, and monetizing the game in the Netherlands to get more funding, to get more sponsors on board, to invest more into the high performance program that's men and women, and maybe sort of the under 19s or A team, to keep working and keep closing that gap to the top teams.
And hopefully it was a boost to the 50 over game.
Yeah, who knows? We're not into it. I think at times there was some great cricket on show. I think, and I read, and I kind of agree with it, that the first couple of weeks were probably not that exciting, because it didn't really matter if you win or lost, because you could make up for it because there were so many group games. So there's if you play in a group of 4 or 5 teams, there's a lot more importance of those games, because if you lose one, that could be your tournament done. Where now, if you lost your first 2 games, like what happened to Australia, there's so much time to make up for it and come back into the tournament. So that's one thing. Obviously, the lack of teams there was quite disappointing, and I think for some reason in the first couple of weeks there weren't really that many tight games. There weren't that many exciting close games, and the more we grew in the tournament, the better it got, and the more attractive it was to watch 50 over cricket. The more excitement there was in watching a 50 over game, where the game starts off, I think, with a flyer, and teams got off to a great start, like India did against Australia, and then Australia pulling it back, and then then you go into the second innings, Australia in trouble with the bat, Travis Head not really looking settled, playing and missing and whatever it was, and then the way he then cruised home for Australia, scoring a big 100. I think it was very exciting, and the drama lasts a bit longer than in T20 cricket, but not as long as maybe in Test cricket. But there was like, okay, India's flying. India was flying. They're going at 8, 9 and over. I mean, how are we going to stop the run scoring? Because otherwise, India's going to run away with it in the first innings. And then boom, 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 few wickets. And then, okay, Kohli and KL Rahul, I think, started building a partnership. And then the game was back in the balance. And then obviously Australia took it in their favor by being absolutely relentless in the field and with the ball. And then, okay, you're thinking, probably not enough runs here to play with, or the score is not big enough. And then all of a sudden, boom, Australia 3 down, and you go like, okay, now that score it almost seems like they're chasing down 350. So now all of a sudden, Het and Labuschagne had to rebuild, and all of a sudden you see Australia coming back into the game, and then obviously walk away with it. But it could have gone the other way. It could have been India all of a sudden taking a few big wickets, and it goes back into India's favor. So sort of those ups and downs during the day is really exciting, and that's what makes 50 over cricket so exciting. I think as a player, giving sort of an inside scoop, you have to do things for longer. It's not like you can bowl, in T20 cricket, you can bowl 2 or 3 bad balls and you can walk away with very good figures. But here, you can't bowl 2 or 3 bad balls every 4 overs that you bowl, because you walk away, you're going for 60, 70 runs. And the same with the bat. You can start off with a few quick boundaries, and your strike rate is up at 200 and it looks amazingly well. But if you then get out, you get your team in trouble. It's about sort of doing the right things for long periods of time, and that's stuff that we spoke about a lot in our team meetings. We can do all the things that those big guys can do, but we do it for 20 balls and they do it for 60, 70 balls, and that's the difference between scoring a 40 and 100. And 40s are not going to win you games, and 100s do. And it's the same with the ball. You can bowl a couple tight overs that go for 3 for 4, and then you go bowl 4 or 5 overs that go for 6, 7 and over. So yeah, that's it really.
But you still think there's a future for the 50 over game? I'm sure Holland hope there is.
I'm sure there is. The big challenge is all the franchise cricket.
Let's talk about your bowling, Paul.
Yeah.
I believe you got a wicket with your first ball in the tournament.
Yeah, I did. And then I started thinking about my T20 World Cup debut in India, in Dharamshala. And I actually looked it up, and I took a first wicket on my T20 World Cup debut as well. So, and then we spoke within the team. It's like, how many guys have actually done that, taking a wicket on their first ball in T20 World Cups and in 50 over World Cups? And I don't think as far as I think, there's no one else who's done it. So, that was a quite little personal proud moment. But there was a special moment, and something I think before I came on to bowl, I was in the field and I said, no matter who's facing, I'm going to bowl a bouncer first ball. So, and it paid out.
Well, you got Iman ul-Haq. You also got Will Young, Daryl Mitchell, Shakib, Josh Butler, Shubman Gill. What was the key to bowling in India? Lots of short spells.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if it's my fitness or whatever. I'm not very good in bowling the long spells. So I think for me to have the biggest impact, we kind of realized that probably 3-4 over spells is the maximum for me. And I think that the role, my role within the team was sort of to be that impact player that comes on and really try and get a wicket, because I come with a bit more extra pace than sort of the rest of our bowling unit. So in a way, that's what I was going to be used for. Short, sharp spells, at times that there was maybe a partnership, or at times that there was a new batter in and we felt like, okay, we want to strike again. I guess that was my role. And I think the wickets were quite good, because there was something in it for the bowlers if you hit the right length, but then if you bowl the bad ball, the batters could score, which was the majority of the wickets that we played on. So it's keeping it as simple as you can. Know what if there's a batter that, back of a length is a slightly better ball, you try and hang on that back of a length as long as you can. If some guys are good back foot players or short ball players, you try and bowl a yard fuller and stick there as long as you can. And then hopefully one of those balls is good enough to beat the bat or take the edge, or you build enough pressure for them to play a rest shot and get out on.
Well, let's just move on to your batting. That was quite entertaining. It's 26 runs in 6 innings, averaging 4.33, the top score of 7 actually in the first game when you're bowled by Harris Rolfe. But I wanted to mention that you like the reverse sweep, don't you?
Yeah. I don't know. I played it a few times. I played the normal sweep a few times. I played a few scoop shots. I guess I like to use the pace of the ball instead of trying to plonk it back over the head, which I know there's a lot of frustration within the coaching camp that they see the talent I've got with the bat. I know I've got a bit of talent with the bat, but I probably don't spend enough time on it. I at times during the tournament I spend a lot of time on my betting, but ideally when you bet at 11, and I think my aspirations definitely moving forward is to bet a bit higher up in the order, but my aspirations as when I'm betting at 11, I tend to hopefully not have to walk in and bet, which unfortunately this World Cup I had plenty of opportunities, but no, I mean, yeah, there's definitely and I need to take a bit of personal responsibility with it. I just need to bet more at training sessions. I need to bet more and train in a bit more detail, and then I think there are more runs for me to get in international cricket or whatever cricket I play, but I need to start doing the work, I guess.
Well, batting number 11, you always feature on the highlights, and you were run out trying. The best one I thought was being run out trying to scoop off a no ball against Sri Lanka.
Yeah, my bad. I kind of knew what he was bowling, so for me it was, I played that shot actually a couple of times during the English summer, so I felt like I can play that shot. And when I missed the ball and I was frustrated with it, I kind of totally forgot that I agreed with Aryan Dutt that we were going to run even if I would miss the ball. So in this case, Aryan Dutt didn't do anything wrong. I got just frustrated with myself and forgot the running bit of running through a bye and get him on strike so he could take down the bowler. So yeah, that's what happened. So and the no ball was because they had too many guys outside the circle. So something I didn't notice. I think a few guys in our dugout noticed it, but they couldn't obviously get the message out.
Well, we won't mention runouts. Finally, what's the future for Paul van Meekeren and the Netherlands team? I know you got the World Cup in June.
Yeah, so we're obviously with the scrapping of the Super League, we're back in World Cricket League 2. So I think our first round is in February, March, when we go to Nepal for this. So that will be some ODI cricket. I believe we might play some T20 cricket at the end of it because we're both going to the T20 World Cup. So that only makes sense. And then, we'll try and qualify for the next T20 World Cup in 2026. We'll try and qualify for the next World Cup in 2027. So that's sort of, I guess, the next few targets for the next few years. Hopefully, with the player association that I run, the DCA, we can secure a more professional pathway for players with more contracts than the 3 or 2.5 that we got in place now. So hopefully we can create a setup where young cricketers can dream of being a professional cricketer in the Netherlands, where there are ideally 12 full-time contracts that you can pay your rent off and can focus fully on your cricket. So that's sort of the future, I guess, of Dutch cricket. Beat many more of the full members, keep closing that gap, keep beating the top 8 ranked teams in the world on a more consistent basis in any white ball cricket. And for me, it's, at the moment I'm unemployed. I don't have a county contract. I'm talking to a few counties. There's a few things I need to sort out from my end when it gets to that. And then hopefully when 1st of March comes and the pre-season starts in the UK, I'm playing county cricket somewhere else. Or if there's a contract for me in Dutch cricket that is attractive enough for me, I guess, to move back to the Netherlands for, I might pick up a Dutch contract and move back. But at the moment it's all up in the air, and I'm just focusing on, I'm having a bit of a break of cricket. So probably by next week I'm gonna train again, work on the fitness and play some cricket. We're going to South Africa in January with the Dutch team, playing against the SA20 teams as sort of their prep for their tournament. So, there's some cricket this winter for me to sort of stay match fit, and then from probably December onwards or just before that, I'll be back in the gym and use some indoor facilities here in the UK to just keep bowling and keep batting and keep improving.
Well, thank you very much, Paul. The very best of luck for you for the winter and hopefully next cricket season in the UK to get another contract. And thank you again for spending the time with me today to talk about the 50 over World Cup and really the joy that the Dutch team gave to anyone watching on the television.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for having me. Make sure you wear something orange next time we play, I guess. So for everyone who's listening. So any Dutch support. I think Gray Nichols now had the Dutch shirt on their website, because we had a lot of questions always. Where can we get our hands on a Dutch cricket jersey? Because I may be a bit biased, but I think it's one of the most beautiful cricket jerseys around. So I think Gray Nichols got that on their websites now, even though it got sold out within no time, I guess. But hopefully they continue putting another range on for guys to support the Dutch team, and women, for people, I should say, to support the Dutch team.
Well, thank you again, Paul.
Thanks, Stephen.
Sports Social Podcast Network.
'Tis the season for chicken fingers at Raising Cane's. Warm up with cooked-to-order chicken fingers, crispy crinkle-cut fries, Texas toast, and the real source of holiday magic, cane sauce. Happy holidays from Raising Cane's Chicken Fingers. One love.